Right, 7 o'clock, can I call the meeting to order, please? Well, you're welcome all to the meeting and councillors and public. First of all, it's not exactly a presentation, but it's we have David Richmond, Director Housing and Neighbourhood Services. He's going to speak to us and then we can ask him questions. But we're asking, all we're dealing with is one subject, and that subject is empty houses in Dinnington. That's what we're dealing with. We're not, so anybody got any other housing problems, don't bother trying to bring them up, because that's not what we're here for today. So could I ask Mr. Richmond if you can?
Yeah, you want me here or do you want me somewhere else?
You can stand over there, sit there, whatever you want to do, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me. Mr. Smith, you've written, I think, about the problems of empty houses in Dinnington. Yeah. We've had some correspondence on that. Yeah. I'm happy to take you through a few key points. If you don't mind, I'll just try and set the scene a little bit by giving you a little bit of background information. Clearly, properties become empty for a whole host of reasons, and to some degree, property values are significant within that. So, a critical issue is whether or not perhaps a landlord has had a property and then it requires investment, or he wants to look at selling it, and he'll be factoring in the value of the property and what he can get back on his investment, as will homeowners. There's also situations, obviously, where people inherit properties and are making up their mind about what to do. There's a standard problem of people choosing to sell the properties. Perhaps they've moved in with a partner, wanting to sell, and it's a second home, and they may or may not be waiting for the market to increase. So in the borough as a whole, we have approximately 3.05% of the stock empty at the last point at which we have figures, which was 1st of April. The national average is about 2.16, so we're above the national average, but not significantly above the national average. The Dinnington average is 2.61, so it's not the highest in the borough. In fact, it's in ward terms, it's ranked 6th ward in the borough. That amounts to 179 properties for the date in which we had last figures. And I can tell you that of those 179 properties, 60 have been empty for less than 6 months. 59 have been empty for more than 6 months but less than 2 years. 17 have been empty for over 2 years. 18 were registered as being second homes, and 25 were homes that were in probate. So you can see there's a range of time scales and also issues inherent within that. Interestingly, of those 179, 150 we believe were owned by individuals who were not known to be landlords. So this isn't a problem specifically about the private rented sector. The other thing I'd say to you is that house prices in Dinnington as a whole are roughly the same as the rest of the borough, except there are some small areas of Dinnington that are well known to you where properties are significantly below the borough average, and that obviously impacts on that issue I mentioned earlier about potential return if you're going to invest in your property, etc. Is it viable for you to do that? So you get entrenched problems in small pockets as a result of property values. Just in terms of our approach to dealing with this, our concern within my service is not the empty homes in itself, it's the consequences of the empty homes. That's the critical thing as far as we're concerned. So whether or not they're being left insecure and getting damaged or vandalised or become a threat because people are ripping out boilers and all those types of issues, whether or not people are fly tipping in the gardens, whether or not it's blighting the next door neighbour's home. Those sorts of issues are the critical things for us. And it's those types of things that we tend to deal with and pick up on, as opposed to the fact that the home is empty per se. So I had a trawl done of activity we've done over the last few years in respect of that. And since 2013, so in the last 2 years, we've issued over 100 statutory notices in the Dinnington area as a result of problems related to empty properties. We've started 15 prosecutions. We've inspected all the properties on Leicester Road for any health risks to the tenants. We've inspected the majority of properties on Door Quarry Lane and Door Quarry Terrace. And we've undertaken over 6,000 investigations as a result of concerns about those properties. The majority of those are in relation to things like noise nuisance, housing related investigations, so standards within those properties. 1,500 of those related to accumulations of litter and refuse. So there's a significant problem coming from those properties. Entirely accept that. So our approach has generally been to try and deal with the issues arising from those empty properties. In part, that's because our capacity to deal with the empty home in itself is limited by cost and value and those things I was mentioning earlier. We have also instigated, relatively recently, an empty property plan where we're looking at identifying the empty properties and trying to deal with them with all of the landlords or owners of those properties. We will, where we have inspected them and feel there is a need, continue to issue enforcement notices. So our approach is to, in effect, place a fine on those homeowners if they don't deal with the problems associated with that. And in that, we're hoping that because of the potential accumulation of fines, they take the view that it's better to deal with the core problem themselves, as opposed to constantly being fined as a result of the problems that accrue from it. But also we want to work proactively with those homeowners to try and look at the reasons why they are left empty. And if we can, we'll assist them. So some of the things we're exploring are whether or not we can bring forward interest from housing associations to lease properties and take them into their portfolios. Or we can give advice to them about potential for mortgage improvement mortgages that are available from some lenders. So we're trying, in effect, to take a carrot and stick approach to those properties. That action plan is relatively recent. It's going to take some time to have an impact. It's going to take the work of a significant number of people to try and deal with those landlords, but we are to some degree beholden to those private homeowners and landlords to feel that there's a strong compelling reason about why they should take action on their own properties. So, and that is largely a financial issue. People don't, on the whole, tend to leave properties empty if it's costing them money when they'd have a better financial return by doing something about it. So I think that's where I wanted to sort of stop and just give you a sense of where we are and the scale of the problems we see.
Okay, any questions?
You've looked at all houses on Leicester Road, you say, all empty properties, and you've found nothing with any health hazards. Have you found any with any risk to the neighbouring houses?
Well, I can't quote specifically about that. As I say, we've served over 100 notices in the last 2 years. Some of those would have been on Leicester Road and would have been dealt with as a result of that. We've also done some improvement works around, I recall a year or two back, around some of the gardens on Leicester Road and the fencing at the back of Leicester Road. We've done issues like that.
I've been a resident on there for 7 years now. Problem is, we can't see where it's been. They've put fences up, but the empty houses are in that much of a state that they're causing damp to all the block of houses when they're in the middle. It's all fine. There's nothing happening. The landlords don't want to know. They don't want the houses. So why not get an housing association, get council to purchase them?
Well, the council, we wouldn't purchase them because we don't want to run them either, frankly. And housing associations may be interested in taking them on, putting them in their portfolio. And we are looking at that. As I say, we've been talking to Action Housing about whether or not they'd be interested in taking on some leases for some existing private properties.
But until you get a road like Leicester Road, until you get people wanting to live there, nobody in the right mind is going to take on a leasing portfolio to an house on there, are they, really? You've got to look at the wider picture.
I agree.
Before you can even start to just pinpoint the empty houses.
I agree.
You've got to,
But that's what we're talking about, empty houses.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how many empty houses in Dinnington that you've brought back into use?
Well, very few. I think the numbers over the last few years are about 18, but it is very few. Yeah. That we've actively intervened and seen an actual result of it brought back to us. Yeah.
I mean, you wrote to me in September. In that letter, you said to me that Dinnington was, forget the exact wording, there are ideal opportunities for using Edmonds in Dinnington. Can you tell me how many of those you've used?
We've used none, and
No.
I don't think I said there's ideal opportunities for that. But
well, you put it in writing, not me. I mean, you've got. This is 3rd of September 2015. You signed letter, and it actually says, as for the amount of Edmonds used nationally, the figures given to you is way out of date, and there are ideal opportunities for using Edmonds in Dinnington. Now you're telling me that you've not
Okay.
used any.
Mr. Smith, to be clear, that came from your letter to me, and that's why it's underlined at the top, and I'm happy to show people that was in your letter to me, and I've responded to your point saying that there was ideal opportunity to use Edmonds and Dinnington. I never said that. That's what you said to me.
Okay. So, anybody else got any questions? Yeah.
You quoted 6,000 investigations. Is that the Dinnington alone?
Yeah.
Yeah. And 1,500 of them on the
Sorry.
2,000.
It's 2,000 in Dinnington, 6,000 borough-wide, sorry.
2,000. Right, so, I don't know how much an investigation costs. We'll just put a £50 figure on each investigation. And I'll say £100 just to clear up litter. That would be able to imagine it's been on the conservative side. That's looking at £250,000 spent here just on investigations and clearing litter. And I think as a taxpayer and a Dinnington resident, that £250,000 would have been well spent doing something else with it. So why so many investigations and so little action? I think you said 100 letters sent out, possibly fines to that. Can't imagine that you're going to get £250,000 back from them kind of fines. So, it seems to feel like a waste of resource or not using the resource in a more positive way.
Yeah, if we've got a complaint made about the property, we are under a duty to investigate it.
I understand that. What I was saying is it seems that, I think I'll be pretty conservative at £50 per investigation. I'm pretty sure that, it costs a lot more money than that for somebody to spend an hour just typing it into a computer, then passing it on to somebody else and so forth. So, is there a monetary value to each investigation cost and each litter cost that you can look at and then put that money to better use, or enforce your fines more?
Yeah, well, that's a fair point about fines, I think. I mean, bear in mind that those costs are already committed in terms of the staffing resource we've got. So it won't be £250,000 in reality, because we don't have that amount of staff to do that type of work. But you know, I can't just move funds from one set of staff into another set of staff in that way. And I've still got the responsibility that if somebody makes a complaint and raises an issue, I have to investigate it and have to deal with it. So I do take your point about being preventative is probably far better use of resource where you can do that. Yeah, I agree.
I'd be interested to know how much it costs per investigation and how much it costs to clear up per litter in a monetary term, and then see what that kind of figure came out at, and then discuss at your next council meeting whether you should be putting your resources to better use, or your staff, or whatever. I'm just a comment I'm making.
Okay.
I'm not sure why you aren't proactively going out and trying to acquire these houses that are obviously unwanted. Obviously, you'd have to acquire them at the right price, but are you making any attempts to do that?
No.
Why is that?
Because the basic issue that is causing the problem is in relation to demand for those properties. You know, so if there was a higher demand and they fetched a reasonable price on the open market, homeowners would be investing in them and selling them themselves. You know, so
Yeah.
So
I think if you were to
Just let him finish.
sorry.
no, that's a fair point. But the issue is back to this chap's point about the demand in the general area and what makes the area attractive or not. You know, and whether or not we can get people interested in them. From our point of view, we wouldn't have the resources to go and acquire properties, even at £40,000 to £50,000 a go. You know, we just don't have that sort of resource that would do it. Even if we thought we could then invest 15 to 20 grand that each one of them would require, and we had demand. You know, there's just not it doesn't stack up as a financial model from our perspective.
But if you look at the kind of interest rate the council can borrow money at,
Yeah.
and if you, like I said, you would have to acquire these at the right price.
Yeah.
You know, way below anything approaching market value. But I mean, if I can put myself in the position of a private landlord who had an empty house, it was basically a ball and chain around my neck, and you were serving me enforcement notices for this, that and the other, and every time you did it you slipped in a little leaflet saying, do you want to sell your house? You know, that ridiculous offer would start to look quite compelling. So if you could acquire some of these houses at the right price, I mean, I know Sheffield Council, for instance, are buying houses at the moment because one of my friends is selling to them. So other people are doing it, and there must be a point at which, you know, somewhere below market price, it must be viable for the council to do that, especially if you can gradually acquire a block. You can bring them up to scratch. In a place like Leicester Road, you can start to turn it round. It's very hard to see how private landlords are ever going to do that, not unless the housing market takes off in some completely unbelievable way.
Is that a question?
That's a fair.
Yeah, I suppose I'm just asking the same question again. I still can't see why the borough can't look at acquiring these houses. You know, obviously I do recognise it'd have to be significantly below market value, but I don't know why you're not trying to do it.
Well, we don't have. There are two forms of funding that the council has available to. There's funding that effectively I manage through council house funding, which comes from the rents, housing revenue account funding, and then there's general funding. So to buy properties that would then go back onto the open market, or that would be let through on an open market level, they would need to be funded through the general fund. And the general fund just doesn't have that level of resource. Okay, so there was actually getting the cash to do that would be extremely difficult. In terms of from a housing revenue account perspective, would I want to buy properties and then take them into the council housing portfolio and let them out as a council house? At the moment, I'm buying up brand new properties in the borough for around about 75 to 85,000 pound a pop. So for me to buy, say, a house on Leicester Road and I get it for 30 grand, 40 grand, and then spend 15 to 20 of it, at the end of the day, I've still got a terrace property in a difficult area at the moment that's cost me best part 60 grand. Well, I can buy a brand new property with all new fittings and done for 75. So it doesn't stack up from my point of view.
Yeah, but you're thinking like...
Lewis, can you...
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Councillor Hall.
So it's just a quick question. You know the housing stock that you actually have available in Dinnington?
Council housing stock?
Yes. Or social housing?
Yeah.
How does that match up with the actual demand or the amount of people who are on the register as needing social housing?
That is not an easy question to answer. At the moment, we have, and I can't answer it on a Dinnington level, but at the moment we have around about 5,300 people on the housing register, and we turn over approximately 1,800 properties a year. So it won't work out like this, but on average you're going to be waiting 2.5 to 3.5 years for a property. But it's done on a needs basis, so those in the greatest needs will get properties quicker. But the register has changed significantly over the years.
It has from 30,000 being on it about 2 or 3 years ago when you sent out...
Say that again?
You sent out a completely new questionnaire about 2 years ago, a draft, a new contract. You actually started a complete new contract, not for existing tenants, but making it much more difficult for people to actually qualify for social housing. You reduce certain parameters.
Yes.
So that, I know there is a need for that, but what I mean is you're saying about it's housing stock, and even if you took on some of these houses, you'd do two things surely. You'd increase your housing stock, and by introducing people into an area like Silverdale's, instead of leaving empty houses, the more impact there is in people coming into an area, brings the standard up, usually, rather than letting it sink even further. Where do you find the £75,000 houses that are all full of new fittings and fixtures and whatever?
We've bought them in Maltby, Wath, Wickersley recently. We're about to purchase some in Thriber. So they're sold at specialist discount rates to social housing providers.
If you imagine if you had, say, 4 or 5 houses in Silverdales that you could get for, as you say, about 40,000, spend another 25,000 on it, 65,000, you could probably achieve two things. First of all, you still get it a wee bit cheaper, and you improve the living conditions of existing people who live there in Dinnington. Because when there's empty houses, it's like a contagion.
Yeah, I agree.
It follows on.
Yeah.
And it gets worse, and as Danny said, it's the houses next door to it that start to suffer as well, because they get the virus. But if you introduce new life into an area, then it brings that standard up.
Yeah.
On in your report to DMT, you actually, it actually says on the benefits of bringing empty properties back into use, it actually says a unique opportunity to meet housing need without the need for new development. Now we're getting stuck in Dinnington with massive development, and yet it says in this report that we've got a unique opportunity to meet housing need without the need for new development. So if you were bringing empty houses back into use, it would obviously cut down on how many houses Dinnington is supposed to have built in its area.
That's not my area of expertise, to be honest. You're into planning policy, and that's not me. But I did check that issue out before I came here. And in terms of the housing needs assessments that the planning colleagues work on, they work on elements of looking at what the national average is in terms of empty properties, and anything below an empty property rate of 3.5% is discounted from planning. So that point you're making about if you brought those properties back, it it would come off your planning targets, isn't how they work it out. They discount up to 3.5% of empty property rates anyway.
I'll take one more question from anybody. Why?
Just a quick one. So are we actually going to be saying then that Leicester Road's never ever going to improve because there's nothing we can do about it? So that they're just going to remain empty forever and ever, aren't they?
Well, I'd hope not. You know, we will continue to work on dealing with the issues that are a statutory nuisance, and we will deal with that proactively. We will work through the empty property plan and try and work with homeowners or landlords to look at what is the reason behind some of those properties being empty, and if we can assist, we will assist. But we're not in a position at this point where, as an authority, we're going to be buying up those properties.
My understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that some of the houses on Leicester Road are owned by a landlord that's in London. So he's obviously got no interest in improving Leicester Road.
Yeah, no, I can't, I don't know off the top of my head that issue. One of the things that we have done, you're probably aware it's been relatively controversial across the borough, is we've introduced a selective licensing scheme for certain areas for landlords, and they have to register with us and seek a licence. So that should flush out who all the landlords are, because if they don't, they'll be prohibited from letting out those properties, and they may result in us taking action.
So then they'll still remain empty.
Or we may acquire them because they will not seek a licence. We've got special powers that we could do that if that retains as a requirement.
One in particular has been empty for more than 5 years.
Excuse me, we've got somebody else.
Is it one of the big problems not being able to identify these landlords?
In the areas where we've got selective licensing, that should not be a problem for us. In other areas, it can be a problem. But we're, as I say, we're gradually working through those and seeking to identify that. But as I said, the issue is not actually about landlords from what I can see. It's actually the vast majority are in private home ownership. So it is people that have inherited their law or that have got second home or whatever.
The worst areas though seem to be
Leicester Road.
private landlords. They seem to be the worst
Yeah.
areas.
Well, I'm hoping that the selective licensing scheme will pick up exactly that point for those smaller areas and will allow us to start tackling that issue.
Surely land register will have that information.
Can you talk through the ask for the chair?
We've got the details of all the landlords of properties that are in the selective licensing area. We can, because that we're given special legal powers. We have problems sharing information, even within the council, where we don't have those specialist powers. So the fact that somebody is paying council tax doesn't necessarily mean that we can immediately get that information for a different purpose. It's all to do with data protection and the way in which the information was given. But in selective licensing areas, we get beyond that point.
That's it. One last question.
Can I just ask, have you any plans to purchase any properties in Dinnington?
No,
No? Why?
because the reasons I've explained.
Fair.
Well, just on that, you've got £5 million in new homes bonus up to now, and then you say, however, these funds have been allocated to meet internal budget pressures and are not available for financing the initiatives highlighted in the private sector and empty property plan. So you get £5 million quid from government, and you take that internal and you don't use it for what it's supposed to be used for.
Well, New Homes Bonus is meant to be there to help encourage things like new housing growth. It's meant to pay for things like provisions to support new schools or new infrastructure for the areas where those new houses are going. So, you know, it's not quite right to say it's not used for the purpose intended. It is getting used for that. But it is largely, to be fair, in this day and age, getting brought into general council budgets to pay for all those other service areas.
Yeah. No, sorry, that's it. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers. So we'll come next is public forum have two questions. Mr. Lewis, do you want me to read it out or do you want to?
Yeah, it's just simply, what could the town council and the rest of us do to get Dinnington back to work? Because, to be honest, I think it's the number one problem in the area, and it's the root of a lot more of the other problems that we have as well. Put purely and simply, unemployment, people out of work.
Anybody want to? Well, one of the things is he's just gone through the door, hasn't he? Which is improving the area and it's...
Yeah. I mean, I work in Sheffield and I work next to people from all over the world every day. You know, from India, from Eastern Europe, everywhere. And then I drive home and I see people knocking around Dinnington, we outwork, and it's just not right. And I can't help thinking that as a community, we're too isolated from the major centres of employment, which, you know, in South Yorkshire is Sheffield primarily, and the other centres, you know, after that. And I get the impression sometimes, we're waiting for something to come here, you know, we're waiting for the trading estate to take off and give everyone a job, and that's never going to happen, and we should know that. But what we've got to do is get our people out to where the jobs are, and that means better public transport, primarily, I'd say, and also, you know, maybe initiatives to make people more aware of the jobs that are out there that they can do, even if they are an hour's bus drive away.
On that point, we are actually going to be putting a neighbourhood plan together. I hope we get involved in that, because a neighbourhood plan will help us to look at not only housing, look at all the infrastructure, look at businesses, look at the whole thing around Dinnington, and how we can deal with what's happening in Dinnington. It actually will give us a lot more say in what happens in his own area. So one of the major things that this council's doing is to push forward a neighbourhood plan that will help us to identify businesses, housing, all the kind of problems that are in Dinnington. And I take your point. I mean, you've only got to look at going out to down Toddick Road, out onto A57 at 4:30. If you can get from one end to the other in an hour, you're doing pretty well, because we've got a mass exodus of people leaving Dinnington rather than staying in Dinnington for work, because people from Dinnington don't seem to be employed on factory estates. And it's pretty obvious that factory estates don't work anyway, new development sites don't seem to work in attracting enough employment. But the one thing that we are, as I said, as a town council, we will be putting forward a neighbourhood plan. We're wanting people to get involved in it, general public, all different groups, and that's one of the things that we'll be looking at to help to push businesses, try and attract business, try and attract jobs, and transport infrastructure as well. So we will, yeah.
Has anybody ever done some sort of a census to find out what percentage of the working population in the town actually works outside of Dinnington? Because we seem to become a wee bit like, almost like a dormitory town for Sheffield works rather than Doncaster. A lot of people live here that actually work but don't work in the town.
Yeah.
Would that be part of the neighbourhood plan?
Yeah.
To find out?
Yeah, that's part of looking at the whole infrastructure. Is there any other point on it that you want to make?
No, I mean I agree with what you're saying, but it's literally our number one problem around here, and it has been for a very long time. And you know, nothing's going to come to us that's going to sort that out. And I think the solution is to get our people to look further afield and obviously make it as easy as we can for people to get out and find work. It's a shame we've got to do that, but it's the only way we'll sort the problem out.
Yeah. But I mean, when we're in a situation where someone can get sent from here for a job in Mansfield, and not just in Mansfield, to the far side of Mansfield, and has to catch a bus from Dinnington into Worksop in order to get a bus from Worksop to Mansfield, and then get a bus from Mansfield out to the other side of Mansfield to actually start work. And that's the ridiculous situation that we appear to be in. That we need to look at, and we need to look at the whole infrastructure. And we do need to look at what the amount of people that are employed on trading estates, because I don't think it works for Dinnington in that sense. So we need to look at all.
Yeah, I think generally a firm gets attracted there and they've got an existing workforce, and the workforce comes with them.
Comes with them, yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Is that okay then?
Yeah.
Next one is from Mr. McIver. Would you like to read it or?
Yeah, well, it's more a point actually.
No, it's a question. Ask a question.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be a question, it can be a pertinent point.
It has to be a question.
No, in standing orders it does say pertinent points as well. However, I'm not expecting you to discuss it now because I believe it's an agenda item. But I'd just like to put my point of view forward about questions in public session, because I think you're going to discuss it later. I'd like to just say that the way it works now, in my opinion, works fine for the people of Dinnington. And I'd really implore members to keep it the same. However, I do understand that you're going to look at it and you want maybe to change it. So I would ask members to consider the people of Dinnington, and at the very least, if you do change standing orders about public questions, is to have a clause in it that only after the people of Dinnington have asked their questions or put pertinent points across, then strangers can ask questions. As I said, I'm not asking you to discuss it now because I do know it's an agenda item, but I would strongly ask you to consider that. Thank you.
Yeah, take a point. As has been said, it's an agenda item anyway. There's one that I'd like to read out. It came, this, and I want this meeting, this is not setting a precedent, so don't think it is, but this came by email, and the reason I'm bringing it up is in public session is because it's the kind of insult that it is to hard-working councillors on this council. And the question that was asked or was stated was that there seems to be a lot of councillors working in the Lyric. Are they getting paid, and are they claiming expenses? That's the question. So any councillor wants to would like to answer that, and that's a public question.
I'd like to answer it. And, no, we don't claim expenses. We do it because we're an hands-on council. We want to make a difference. And it's where we're based, it's where we work from. And why not? Council run it, you know. We're here, might as well do it rather than take it to somebody else.
Mr. Chairman, sorry.
I don't know who asked this question, but has it been generated just because of the amount of time that maybe we're around?
Yep, that's basically it.
Oh, no.
Mr. Chairman, it'll become clearer later when Councillor Smith reads this out. So it will become why the councillors are spending a lot of time in the room.
So how's anybody? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that today Councillor Hart and myself have been in the Lyric from 8:30 this morning until 5:20. Because we've got an engineer in there that spent a lot of time on his phone rather than doing what he should have been doing, hence we had to stay longer than we expected. And we were there so that he could show us what we needed to know after we finished. We were expecting to be out of there by 3 at the very latest. No, we haven't got paid for that. And could we get double time for assembly.
Chair, Councillor Smith, Mrs. and the chairman asked me if I'd go into the Coronation Park and help in there, because it's a disgrace. We walked in, there were trees what had been chopped down and left. There's builders' rubble in there, and no, we did not get paid. And I don't want paid.
I think the question's been asked and answered.
Yeah. It's just, but the thing that, the reason I got is it's a species question anyway, because the person who asked the question knows for a fact that councillors can't be paid, councillors don't get paid, and neither can you claim expenses for doing the job. So,
Maybe you asked it, any experience?
at that
Can I just
time,
ask again, Chair?
yeah, sure.
Can the clerk and myself meet up so I can have a look at the cash book recording receipts and payments for the past 2 years? Because the chair has allowance. So can we meet up so we can inspect the books?
Yeah, no problem with that. Councillor.
Well, I've been on this council over 7 years, and I've run about everywhere with other councillors, and I've never charged a penny for transport or claimed any payment at all in this last 7 years. I come onto the council to help Dinnington, like every other councillor here. So anybody who's saying that I'm claiming money as a councillor, they want to come and tell me to my face. Thank you.
I think that's covered it. Okay, I just wanted you to know on what being said about it. Like I opened the council meeting, what I intend to do with the agenda is move 13515B, which is the chair's report, to 13315. Put the chair's report as A, put the update report for the management committee, which is going to be read by, that's going to be done by Councillor Scott rather than Councillor Simmons.
You can do it if you want.
So that's what I intend to do with the agenda. Okay. So we'll move on to notes. Apologies for absence. Do we have any? Excuse me, Sarah, what I said was just Council Salt. Yeah, Council Salt has put apologies in, but it's a running apology because he's not been very well and it's a wrong thing. So do we accept his apology? Yeah. All in favour? To consider any matters which should be dealt with in open or confidential session. Oh, sorry, to record declarations of interest, sorry. That's why I have people sat aside and I've got your own I wish we would look at all the time. To record any declarations of interest, have we got any? No? Now I can put it. To consider any matters which should be dealt with in open or confidential session. I haven't found any on the agenda. Has anybody else? Okay. Monthly accounts, schedule and relevant budget update information. So, have we any questions?
Just one, there's still from RMBC for lease of land.
Yeah, we've asked the question on that one, we haven't got a definitive answer yet. We did have this last year, it's frustrating because I got an answer and I can't remember what the answer was. But I will add a note into the list to explain that particular.
It's not costing more.
No, I will add a note to that.
I just have a question from the last finance, when we were talking about the Lily Roof, the ceiling with the spotlights. Did we get a result from the overspend?
We should have not.
We should have had a
Well,
spotlight.
that's from that. We can only deal with this one that we've got in front of us. Sorry, but So is there any questions on this one? No? Can we have a move to the true record? All in favour?
Can I find out all the proposal and second was on
Yeah, councillor Smith.
Is there one? Second, is it on it?
Who seconded it?
One.
Move on to the minutes of September minutes. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. I've just got one. Have we heard anything back from Rugby Club?
Nothing. A letter has gone off to the president of the Rugby Club, nothing back yet.
So we need to put out an agenda item for next one. Page 7.
Have you heard all back from the council? Come on, the civil business.
We've got 20 days. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, it'll be. It should be up soon. Page 8, I think we don't. Can we move to the true record? No. All in favour? We get the vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. Consider any matters raised in the public session.
Yeah, I have a quick question on that. There was a question raised in the minutes saying that will the council consider a change to standing orders allowing outsiders to speak in meetings?
That's on the agenda.
That's on the agenda for
Yeah. Yeah. To consider approve the following planning applications. Single story rear extension 10 Spring Street to the road Dinnington.
Myself and Councillor Chairman Smith went and inspected this morning. I can't see any objection to it, as the next door had had front and back extension. The next door, they've got an extension. This one, they've got an extension, but it's an old one, and all they want it to do is to knock it down, and then they put it, instead of coming straight across, it's going to go that way, from narrow to wide. So I cannot see any reason to object to this.
Anybody else? We don't affect the community anyway, so we can't do an agenda. So we can have no objections. All in favour of that? Booking concessions and donations, nil. For members' consideration and decisions to discuss the reintroduction of council newsletter. This was a question that came up in public session, and I said we put it on the agenda to discuss it at this meeting. Has anybody got any points you want to make on that?
It's a Wales and Pivot
newsletter for everybody to have a look at for ideas and decent ones. But I think we said last one that somebody wrote just one page. So that's there if anybody wants to have a look at it.
Anybody got any comments on it?
What sort of costs have we got for that?
No idea. Well, it depends on what size,
Depends how big it is,
what size we have, what,
whether they're running off on the printer in the office or whether they go out to printers, how it's distributed, whether they get sponsors and things like that. Look at that, it looks quite a big publication to do. You see adverts and things like that, so quite a big effort from the council. Anston's obviously, people mentioned, is a lot on one side, two-sided A4 things, so it's a lot cheaper to produce. Still effort goes into it, obviously, to get it to where it is. It all depends on what's actually required, at least how much it costs. I believe, if memory serves me right, in the past it was around, when they used to do it before I went, it was around about £400 per newsletter. Is the figure I've got in my head, but I might be wrong on that. Some of the existing councils might be able to correct me on that.
I'll say, well, we used to do one not council one. We used to do one cost of making a box or something. But that's going back 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, right.
The problem was though, the actual sponsors and also the articles. Do you have to really think about it?
People want to move forward with information on them.
Right.
All I was going to say was, obviously today with technology the way it is and Facebook and other bits and pieces, yes, we want to be more out there, yes, we want to be more involved, and we want to make it easier for people to respond. But obviously technology has gone a long, long way. And I don't know about anybody else, but I tend to have things come through the door and they end up in a pile somewhere and don't tend to look at them. If I was going to look up the council, I would specifically go to Facebook or something and look it up. So it's trying to weigh that up as well, I think.
One problem also maybe to, maybe to produce
an information.
And then we just post that on the links for our website, our Facebook page, and just have it as a simple thing rather than anything that goes to expensive production. Because I don't know, that may be easy to produce, but as the councils have just alluded to, it's like any newsletter, it's the content that will make or break.
Anything what comes through your office that be useful, so they can do it, so it's something for us to look at, if it's not that's being looked at.
I think it's a fair comment, though, that when you look at it logically, that we have a Facebook page, we have a website, there's no reason why we can't actually have a blog in that sense, and that we actually do it electronically.
On Facebook and whatnot, as you say, at the bottom, you could put piles of newsletters, library, different places where people could put small copies of.
Sorry, I thought while I was thinking, putting one of the other hats on. Recently with the Carnival, we actually approached one of the magazines that we all get through the door these days. And maybe there's another option there to see if they would do articles on, for instance, different members of the council to bring it a bit more alive. And that way reaching out in the magazines that are already going through the door. It's just you know what I mean? It's just another one to throw out there. Because they're always looking for stories to put in these magazines, whether that's an option to approach them.
I think one of the major things for us is our website anyway, is that we all need to be on the get photos taken and let everybody know who we are. Because there are lots of people in Dinnington. But that's one of the things that we do as far as the newsletter's concerned. One of the things that's in that one, isn't it?
Yeah,
the councillors and so.
There's no photographs in it, but it actually names all councillors on that area at bottom there.
But I think it can be done electronically rather than.
This one has been going since 2003, I think it says on the front here. And we're in 2015 now. So it's been going a long time.
It might have started off as half a page on Saturday.
Yeah.
How often is it printed though? Is it kind of like once a quarter or?
This one here is issue 47, so I assume that's this year.
Would it not be worth getting in touch with Wales and asking them for their expertise?
Yeah.
Find out.
So how often do you send it out? How do you get it all back together?
Yeah.
And bring it back to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's look at electronic as well as hard copy. And like that, hard copy. Very good. It's a computer speak, that was I don't know how a piece of paper becomes hard copy, but then allegedly that's what it is. So is that what we can I have a proposal in a second?
I'll second
We put it on the agenda for next month. And we look at what we get in touch with them and find out all information we can about all the different newsletters and look at it, or even look at it electronically. Yeah. Okay. So we've got a proposal in a second there. All in favour?
Can I just ask the Royal We is going to be that's going to do it?
I'll contact Wales and Andrew's looking at the electronic.
Yeah, I've got that.
I'm looking at hard copy.
Chair, can I just ask a question around the Dinnington Town Council website? Who actually runs that website? Sorry, any questions on that one? Absolutely.
And we need to, I think as a council, we need to get more involved in that.
Yeah.
We need to get stuff on ourselves from that. So now we consider changes to standing orders to allow non-Dinnington residents to speak in meetings. That's the standing order. So we know what we're talking about. Meetings generally, and it's FG. It says subject to standing order 3 EF above, each member of the public is entitled to ask one question only in respect of business itemised on the agenda or on a pertinent issue that may arise and shall not speak for more than 2 minutes unless directly required to speak to answer a question directed from a member of the council. Questions may only be asked by Dinnington parishioners and Dinnington business owners, the latter at the discretion of the chair. In cases where a question has been submitted from a member of the public but the individual is not in attendance for any reason, priority will be given to questions asked by those in attendance. So it's a change. It's, what's been asked for is to change the part of that standing order which says questions may only be asked by Dinnington parishioners and Dinnington business owners, the latter at the discretion of the chair. 2, basically anyone, any member of the public can ask a question.
As long as it's a question about Dinnington, I can't see any problem.
Any other? You've got any points on this, is it?
Chair, this will all be put in to stop certain people asking questions at Dinnington or lived at Anston. It was funny, after this was put in, Anston put it in theirs, and that was to stop people, the public, who come from Dinnington, asking questions at Anston. I don't care if they come from Thurcroft, out to Mongolia, Mull, as long as it makes Dinnington, if they've got ideas to make Dinnington a better place to work, a better cleaning and talk or all like that, I don't care where they come from, they should be allowed to speak.
He's wrong about that, Brian. It was not aimed at anybody in specific. It was aimed because we had complaints about Dinnington folk wasn't allowed to ask questions when answering folks had already been asking. Time had run out, and the complaint put forward that I wouldn't allow Dinnington question. And that was the reason that I put forward, not for anybody in specific or anything.
I don't know how other people feel about this, but I was elected by Dinnington people to speak about and discuss Dinnington matters. A lot of time was taken up with questions what reflected other areas at that time. And I really believe that we need to concentrate on Dinnington. And I really believe it should be only Dinnington people who ask questions at this time.
What about people from other areas locally that use Dinnington?
Well, that's businesses. That was the businesses, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it might be, but people might have a problem, something to do with Dinnington and businesses.
But it wasn't, it got out of
Can you
hand.
just speak through the chair?
Oh, sorry. It did get out of hand. It was getting silly, and it was taking the focus away from things what really mattered to Dinnington.
Councillor?
If there's a provision within the current standing orders for discretion by the chairman allowing questions, and questions are normally submitted in writing prior to being asked of them, right? Well then, could you as chairman use your discretion if it is actually relevant to Dinnington and you have an impact on it, to allow the question as opposed to a big blanket allowance for people to speak?
The only discretion that the chairman's got is if it's a business, someone who's got a business in Dinnington. That's the only discretion the chair's got on that. I mean, the thing, if you take out the part for the questions may only asked by Dinnington parishioners, then the meeting then, the public session is open to everybody.
I actually agree with what Mr McIver said earlier on, that Dinnington residents should come first. If the people from Dinnington get their questions, and there is, say, 5 minutes left at the end of public question time, then we can take questions from other residents. As such, they have no concern of what happens in Dinnington. And the Dinnington people should represent, and the council should represent the people of Dinnington, not Northampton, not Wales, or anything like that, just Dinnington. If there's time left in the public session, then we should be able to allow them to have a question.
Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we've got a borough councillor who lives at Woodset. We've got a borough councillor who lives at Maltby. So I believe that anybody can come, as long as it's to do with Dinnington, as long as it improves Dinnington, then they should be allowed to speak.
We are Dinnington Town Council. It's nothing to do with what the borough's doing. This is where things have been crossing the line in previous years. We're not bothered about what the borough are doing. This is Dinnington Town Council, and we should be looking after ourselves and looking after the people of Dinnington, not anybody else.
But looking after the people of Dinnington might, we might have to listen to people from outside of the ward that come in and use Dinnington, like Councillor Smith, I think it was said. If as long as it says in standing orders something like it's got to be about Dinnington, I can't, I propose that we'll let them speak as long as it is about Dinnington and not any other areas.
So you're making a
Chairman,
proposal.
I'd make a proposal that we let them speak in,
Do we
as
have a
long as
second?
it's about Dinnington.
Have we got a seconder for that? The proposal is that they allow
I'll
for
second
second on
it.
it's about Dinnington. Is there any amendments? No.
They're allowed to speak at the meeting, but after the residents of Dinnington.
And
It's
it's
not
the
the
10
first.
minutes.
And
Like
it's
the
within the
second.
half hour.
I'll second that.
We got a second. So do we know? And that's all that.
The way I read that proposal then is that it's to allow non-residents to speak, but only after Dinnington residents have had their say first. And if I got this right, it has to be something considered Dinnington. Did I read that right? Yeah.
The standing order itself anyway, the standing orders themselves say it's only questions that are about Dinnington.
The only other proviso that I think Almus, when he summarised that, was when Councillor Loftus actually said, and if time permits.
So that's in addition to the original proposal.
So can we read the amendment?
Before we take the vote, can I just reply?
Yeah.
It said, the council said that the borough councillors, the borough doesn't represent us. They do represent us. We tell them, and we hope, they take our message from here to Rotherham.
I didn't say that.
They said, what you're trying to say is that we're talking about this council rather than...
Yes, I agree entirely.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have it then. The proposal is to allow anyone to speak and ask a question.
This is amendment. Yeah.
But with the amendment that Dinnington residents come first, it must be about a Dinnington issue, and if time permits.
We've got a proposal, which is, we've got a proposal which says that they're allowed
So anyone's allowed to speak, that's the secretary.
Yeah, that's what the proposal is. Amendment is that, as you've got it out.
Yeah.
Shall we take amendment first?
Go to the amendment first.
All in favour of the amendment? Any against? Yeah. So the amendment's carried, so that alters the standing order to say that people from outside Dinnington can ask questions as long as it's about Dinnington, and the Dinnington people take priority, and it's in time's left. So that will be added into
I will find some tools and change
into
that.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so to include amendments to section 18, financial controls and procurement, is advised by NELC. Better review.
Yeah, I sent the paragraph 18 out. The new paragraph 18 as advised by the National Association of Local Councils. These standing orders are based heavily around the model standing orders that they issued anyway. And the amendment is based on the procurement contract regulations 2015. I might have got the wrong title there, but that's what it covers. So really, I think I suggest to the member that it's a proposal that we accept that one straight in because it covers us keeping it to the current legislation.
Have you all got that?
There will be, just to wrap on there, there will be an amendment to financial regulations to follow this up because it is to do with contract procurement. However, the exact wording and advice to amend financial regulations has yet to be received, so that will be followed as due course.
Do you have any questions on that? I have a proposal that we accept that change. So, can I have a second? All in favour?
Just check that was Councillor Paxley who proposed and all of us were seconded. Yeah.
To consider Dinnington St John's Town Council involvement in Rotherham Borough Council's Green Partnership Scheme. I'm sure you should have got this. Any one to speak on this, Councillor?
We actually took part in it last year, a few of the residents and whatever. And it was a scheme put together. They came and gave us a talk. I think it was actually at a council meeting when a gentleman came, a few of us signed up. And it was just assisting with things like paths into schools and bits and pieces like that. And I, if you like, had the privilege of doing Park Avenue. And the gratitude from some of the parents trying to get to school was worthwhile to me. And I personally think it's a very good scheme, and if we can get a few more people on it, it makes our community a lot more accessible when there is. I mean, let's face it, we take an inch of snow and we come to a standstill sometimes. And for 20 minutes just shoveling a bit of snow, it does make life a bit easier for a lot of people. So I'm behind it 100% personally.
Anybody else?
If the local press system did believe as well, we're set to have a very bad winter with lots of snow.
I'd just say I've had an email off of you because I was in contact last year for this area.
That was outside the council, wasn't it? Was that
Yes, this is just, no, they weren't just me as a councillor.
Right.
And we supplied it with gloves, snow shovels, and hardest vest, gives a little bit of training on how to do it and what not to do. And I think we cleared Dinnington Junior School, we cleared Thompson School, Zebra Crossing, things like that. Near Vets on Zebra Crossing. We couldn't actually go up on the road, but we could clear footpaths. So then Tony and Ellen joined up with us when they were doing theirs, and we went round, put like in the school and things like that. And I think it worked rather well. But we do need a few more people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Last year, what Councillor Scott Clark were involved in was a bit separate to the council. They ended up doing it really by sort of by default. Really.
I sent my report off and you sent yours.
Right, and we appealed to members of the public, and there were about 4 in total, I think we had, including the chair last year and the council from Aston and a couple of others whose name forgets me. And the council, so Dinnington Council, designated 4 priority areas which we need to review and make sure it's coordinated with other organisations that are getting involved with the council signs up for it. Remember rightly, the priority areas were outside here, outside the doctors, I think the path between Nursery Road and the house, and I think St Joseph, crossing outside St Joseph's School. So we might need to have a make sure we're happy with that.
Just from the council, I'll come back to you.
Chairman, we're a new council now. We've got on here, put Dinnington first, and I think any help what's needed, it'll be given. And yes, I don't want paying for it.
For years since I was last, I've always been around the centre, because I can't do very much, so I can't go out in the massive. But you do fill the tub near the centre every year, when it's actually filled again. And I keep that area for myself. It's like a cup, because like I said, I can't go anywhere else, it's just big enough for me.
We did Leicester Road one blows, no help to all them.
Well, that's the only area I have.
Have you got any objection to the member of public, please?
Me and the pastor, Kingsley Jones, and our Dinnington New Life Church, we did snow shoveling outside St Joseph Court there and outside our church as well.
Yeah.
So we both, in Silverdale, yeah. So we both did that, yeah.
Can I speak on this one?
Yeah.
Would it be a worthwhile idea if we are predicting a really bad winter, that everybody or councils or get people, other members of the public to just check all the bins to make sure all the bins are full before any weather appears on us? Because once we start getting some bad weather, everybody in London will be crying out for their bins. So if we can sure the house is full of before then.
Do you know where they all are?
Well,
Find out, have a look at them.
I'll find out, go and have a look
Well,
at it.
can we just get most of it?
If anybody who wants to help with it, if they let me know, I can send all your names off to me. He'll provide you with blood, snow shovels. We'll deliver to my house. We'll pick them all. And then there'll be certain streets that we can do, certain streets that Tony and I will do, and we'll work as a team.
Sorry, I was going to come in there with Councillor Scott. I know I've spoken with Tony and Helen, they've already got an area designated to put salt for Dinnington, so that we can have access to as much salt as we can.
No, but
So we can actually
borough
then
come actually, where Alice told the borough come and actually fill the bin and request it.
Councillor
I agree totally with what Carol's saying actually, because I think that's a really good idea if prevention starts to get in there quick.
Yeah.
So
But
we
you've got
see
to
any-
decide on whether you've got to decide on whether you're going to do this or not.
I'm just thinking
If
the assessment part.
Sorry, what I've just said is nothing to do with the proposal, it's just something you should do.
Well, answer Carol's question on that one. It's from, like I usually, street price coordinates, all I do is phone them up. They know where the bin is, and they can fill it. And once it's empty, now they just move it. If it's empty, they fill it. So, and that's all the way I went, we'll do 3 all our street prices. They'll turn out, fill it together. And I've had no problem.
So can I have I want to leave
I was going to say, can I propose that we do get involved in
Can I
this?
second? All in favour? Then you can show your grip in your arms.
Just follow
Little job for you.
Yeah. To discuss the current situation of the Birkdale Recreation Ground and possible future Dinnington St John Town Council actions. Anybody want to speak on this? I'm sure that there is some member of the public.
Wasn't Councillor Mallinger supposed to be here
Can you
tonight?
just give me a second? Has anybody got any objections if a member of the public speak?
No. So wasn't Councillor Mallinger supposed to be here tonight to give a report on the progress?
So what of the time?
That may have been a couple of on the back door, because I don't know if she was aware of a change in venue. I tried to contact her this afternoon, but...
So we're taking part in Acorn Antiques.
At the last town council meeting, I asked the question, what was the ongoing situation with Birkdale Avenue?
Yeah.
And all I got was a blank look from them.
Yeah.
But that's not what he said in the minutes of the meeting. He says, I asked a question on freedom of information. It was asset transfer.
Well, look, the minutes reflect what she said, no? That's what she spoke about.
Yeah, but she didn't say that.
Yeah,
She-
but the minutes reflect what she said rather than what we were trying to ascertain from. I mean, basically, the question is, we've gone as far as we can, as we FOIs and all the rest of it. It now comes down to, what other actions are we prepared to take as a council? Are we all right, member of public speak? Yeah? Okay. Yeah.
I think the situation is that last year or the year before, a ward councillor actually took this to Rotherham, and it's before Al's time. And I remember having a meeting with the secretary, Clark. And there were all sorts of reasons why it couldn't be transferred. Number one was they could actually claim it back if they gave 3 months' notice. Now, whether that's accurate or not, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it was dropped. I think that Councillor Ballinger may well have gone through the same sort of procedure and contacted whoever the officer is, which is probably the right way of doing it, but has, in fact, in the email that's been sent to us, the email is a copy of the email that was sent to the previous ward councillor. So clearly, repeating the process, there's not going to be a change unless you're insane.
according to Albert Einstein anyway.
Yeah.
So my suggestion would be that it's not an officer situation, it's a political situation. Which means it's the leader of the council or whatever. Or maybe the lead. What my words I can't say.
Strategic director.
No, it's the lead. Commissioner. That's it. I can't say commissioner, sorry. Yeah, so maybe it's certainly it's got to be at that level.
But so, can I just, I mean, what would we be asking?
For it to be
transferred.
To be transferred to Dinnington Town Council.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
You know, it's a request, and as far as I'm aware, I don't think they have any reason why that request shouldn't be fulfilled, because in the meantime, since last year, or the year before, when it was asked, the strategic director, in a letter to Kevin Barron, said that the land was surplus to requirements.
Yeah.
So officially that land is surplus to RMBC requirements. So they don't need it.
Sorry. Anyone else?
No, I was, sorry, before we spoke, I was just going to ask, what can we do?
Well, what we can, I mean, that's what we can do, is that we...
do it.
Yeah, we're going to close it. All in favour? So we're right to leave Commissioner and ask for it to be transferred to Dinnington Town Council.
I'll come back on that one. I'll just see if I draft up some sort of letter, but I'll pass it to you guys first to make sure that the terminology and everything is correct, and then the council send it off.
We'll give the relevant stuff.
Yes, until the end of the council, so we'll get
Right, to discuss the resurfacing and long-term maintenance of roads, that's down to you, Councillor.
Well, it's nice to see that we are servicing the Dinnington finally. Not many was usual, I think. But I refer to a letter from Colin Knight on the 22nd of August 15, who asked for suggestions about maintenance of these roads. Now, I did a bit of research, I'm looking into it, I can't find anywhere in planning permission where it holds the person that does the intrusion into the public highway, footpath or wherever, is held responsible after he leaves it. And this is where 95% of the potholes come from, in long term. Now, I couldn't understand why these weren't fetched back to repair and put back to what as was. Because in the initial statement of the document, it says, relieve as per found. That's what it says, or words to that effect. So, I wondered if we'd heard all back from this Colin Knight fellow.
So is anybody else? Sorry.
You were talking about the utility companies what come out.
Some of them have been paid from the public purse, most of them. They've been paid, and then we're having to pay out to taxpayers money to get the road resurfaced.
More should be done to bring
That
back.
they should be made come back, say 2 or 3 years after put it right. And that comes to sound like it's on planning.
Can I also make a point as well?
Sure.
Due to the lack of road sweepers going around the sides, there's all the weeds coming and it's tracking the roads from the pavements, and that's just cutbacks. I mean, the roads are not going to last if we don't get the road sweepers back out.
I'm just going to add as well. I mean, we're all aware that in the past few weeks, I believe we call it Dinnington Square, and they've dug up all that up and made a right mess up there. And I noticed as well this past weekend, they closed off the high street and dug out where they're making the V.
Yeah.
So they literally team out on a Sunday morning, dug the hole and walked away again, leaving a hole for the next crew to come along. And it just seems these days that we've got to have 4 or 5 groups when, you know, it should be a lot more simpler than that. The state of the roads is just getting worse and worse, driving her down like I do, and my wheels are getting damaged every time I go out.
Councillor Wood.
I was told, Chairman, that our road sweepers this year, because of the cuts, they've not got to sweep up the leaves. So that we're even worse this year.
Councillor Smith.
A few weeks ago, I was on Silverdales and they were going down filling the potholes in. And I reckon that a little kiddie with a spade and a mud pile is doing a better job.
Yeah.
So that it's just a complete waste of money what they're doing.
The bus comes straight down and just turns it back up again.
Honestly, it just looked as though they got splat, tap, tap, tap.
The cut, sorry, Chair.
Councillor Davis.
It's not just the not only road sweepers, it's when council comes and puts the grass, they blow it all over. They don't blow it up into tracks or whatever. They just blow it off where they've put. I mean, we were going to Malton Road and they were just blowing it into Brett Lane. And it was raining at the same time. And that would have been dangerous for any traffic.
What we're discussing is resurfacing and long-term maintenance.
I've just problem like Dinnington, as far as I can see, the roads in Dinnington are death trap. There's nothing else to say. I'm probably the only one here that rides 2 wheels. Motorcycles. Come out on the road, that's the doctor's surgery there. The road there is nothing but rutted, pitted, everything. Something needs to be done before somebody gets killed on it. I'm not being all dramatic. The roads in Dinnington are an absolute disgrace. What we can do, I have no idea, but something needs to be done. Because somebody's going to come off a motorbike and going to be killed on that new road. I'm telling you.
I'll tell you one more on it.
What about-
Any objections?
No.
What about asking RMDC to resurface the main road into Dinnington, which is New Road? It's not fit for purpose. It's unfit for cars.
Can I come back? We made that precise point last year, particularly when we came out with a list of roads and stuff that was going to be done in this area. We'd asked them already to do the worst ones, which is exactly the areas that yourself and Councillor Loftus have mentioned. And when the list came out and they weren't on it, we immediately replied and said, why aren't they on it? Because they're by far the worst, the bus routes, everything else. And the simple answer I got back was, well, it's just not on this year's schedule. It was a dismissive reply.
It's the main road in
Correct.
Dinnington. Everywhere uses that.
Absolutely.
One of the stipulations when we put an objection in for when the Topic roundabout was being built, a lot of the heavy equipment was coming through Dinnington, and we said at the time on the road, and we said at the time, we want this road looked at once this is all finished, and
I'll take Councillor Smith and then Councillor Adam.
If we do a neighbourhood plan, would we have more say in which roads are being done?
It's part of it. It is part of the neighbourhood plan.
I've actually contacted Robin Borough Council about that particular junction that Councillor Russell was particular on that. And the council are obliged to check roads, certain roads, depending on what it is, A road, B road, side roads, streets, and whatever, a certain amount of time every year. And if you ask them, they'll give you a report for every single road that you've checked, what condition it is, and whether or not it is due for any resurfacing. So that's any member of the public can actually ask them about whatever road they're particularly concerned about. And they are obliged to do that report every 6 months or 12 months, depending on the state. So you can see what's due.
Just last one. When there was a line up on Byron Road, Byron Road, and Burns Road, I went out and inspected there at the time, nothing what they were doing. I found out what they inspected. I said, why are you doing Byron Road? That's where I live. Well, yeah, you're on this grade now. I says, this is a waste of money. I said, why don't you start from Leopold Street and go all the way up to the top of London's Hill? He said, I've inspected that. Don't know, I can't remember the flipping name.
I've inspected that it was come under the category to be resurfaced. The words are said. So where do you go when the inspector tells you that?
So you're asking, you're
I got the same thing.
It's your agenda item, what do you want us to do?
Could we, or can we influence the planning decision at all? That makes them come back. Can we do it? Can we make a suggestion? What can we do? I know it's a long-term solution, but at the end of the day, it comes right. That's right.
So you want us to,
Sorry, I'm coming in there, but can we not ask somebody to actually come and explain? As to us,
from highways?
That's what inspectors come and explain.
could we not put or I'll put in to ask whether they would actually come and explain to us their decisions on the roads?
Is that a proposal?
That's my proposal.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favour? So we'll try and get into the next meeting if we can. To discuss incidents of speeding drivers in Dinnington Estates. Councillor Sue again.
I've had representation from two groups of sheltered accommodation. This look that I belong to. And they're concerned about New Road and Leopold Street. That's just two of them to start. And they're concerned about through traffic obviously exceeding the speed limit. If you go out to walking like I do, you'll see it. But and the number of near misses of people holding the crossroads from one side of the sheltered accommodation to the other, nearly rear and things like that. And they deeply concerned. Can we do something to slow the traffic down on them two roads? And then the other place, of course, where we're receiving concern is Iron Road as well. There's between bottom of Central Avenue and Milton Road, they seem to think they're on Grand Prix circuit. You know, they really do put the foot down. And if it weren't so serious, the funny thing about it is that these people on school boats, who God knows what seems to be the biggest perpetrators of it, it's laughable, no it's not, and everybody notices it back saying, they're on board, and they're going like the clappers up through an estate.
I don't want to take too long on this one.
Well, myself and the Councillor Davis is on the traffic committee, and sometimes we mentioned Iron Road, and they came with it and they said, as we tried to get a 30 flashman sign there, and the traffic said no. We may as well turn around and says to us, unless somebody gets killed over and over, we can't do nothing about Iron Road. And I'm absolutely saying what they're saying. And this is for the traffic, and we brought the Councillor Davis around board. They monitored it, because they went where the Davis Park is, and they sat there in the car, and they're right coming. But they came sometime thing. They sat there in the car and monitored, and there was, and I think I got figures somewhere, and it's only about
average
27 mile an hour. It's more on top day. We wrote this.
So what did this last one?
It's not what anybody wants to hear, but it is a sad fact that it's accidents, deaths and injuries that gives them the power to put restraints in areas. And just going back to Iron Road, when it was full of potholes, we didn't have a problem. Now it's been resurfaced. So you've got a problem here, because you talk about New Road having potholes there, but as soon as you resurface it, you've got another racetrack. So you've got to be careful what you wish for here. I don't want to put a damper on it.
I think what we can do is that if we are in highways departments come and talk to us, then we can ask these questions to them. Talk about
not being political, but if they could resurface New Road, you could put speed bumps in at the same time.
Yeah, we'll do that with.
All right,
you've got 2 wheels between them.
I do that anyway.
So we'll move on to discuss the St John Town Council's response to RMBC sites and policies document. Gone quiet, isn't it? The last council unanimous in their objection to the core strategy. We've now got this this thing called Science and Policy document that arose by any other name in it. So we've got the areas where they actually going to build. That means they're taking green belt, taking recreation areas. I can't tell you what to vote or what to do, but all I'm saying to you is that the council before us voted unanimously against it. How do we feel about it?
I'll propose that we vote against it again.
Second that.
All in favour?
I've actually done it individually the same as well. You can actually do it
Any objections? We've already, sorry, but we've already passed.
It's all right, I just want to make a point that it's no good just sending a letter objecting. You've got to actually object on the consultation portal, or it will not get listened to.
That's what we're proposing to do. To approve a new laptop and phone for we've got a theatre manager, which is what it would be, but at the moment we have a committee that actually phone don't work properly, and neither does the laptop, which makes it virtually impossible to be checking bookings for Berry. Hence the request that a new laptop and phone. The theatre manager and the theatre manager at the moment.
problem we've got at the moment is I'm trying to call it when I'm doing the spreadsheets, I can't go to the computer's not working. So I'm trying to work it by app. Obviously, there's three of us at the moment, the second so we're opening and closing what we call time for different times. And I need to tell people who's got it on such and such a day. I can't do it on computer, so I do it by own. So I use the spreadsheets. It was there, but it's not on the computer now.
Anybody got anything on this?
Yeah, so online or mobile? And where will it be situated? No, a laptop. I'm talking about what we were
Laptops
saying.
Because at the moment, Councillor Scott's one that's taking booking.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I just question I wanted to
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to add as well that, sorry, I'm not interfering, but it's also a chance that we can pass it around so that other people can actually, do you see what I mean? That's what we've been doing up till now. If Councillor Scott decides to take off for the weekend, somebody else takes over the role.
Well, that's what we've been
a
doing.
mobile phone makes it a lot easier so that we can pass the work around.
So can I have a proposal?
Yeah. Have we had a look at the cost?
Have we got a costing on it?
Replacement phone for the one that's the same as what it's got about just short of £100. For a laptop, I don't know about the software and anything else. You can get it, or you can get it cheap ones. So if it takes all the equipment, you need everything to go on top.
I can liaise with Councillor Scott about software.
Yeah, so we just need a basic laptop. You just need a laptop. That's it. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Can I have a
phones that we get on them?
can I have a second? All in favour? We need that as soon as possible, don't we? That's,
The collection.
Clark Avenue Cemetery Lyric Theatre allotments, land.
This is what we wanted to know.
Yes, where I put chair's report. The reason I've decided to do this is because there's a lot of stuff since we took over in May, there's a lot of things that have happened, and I think it's important that the public, as well as the rest of us, actually know what's actually being done by the council. So this is the chairman's interim report. Over the last few months, this council has spent a great deal of its time putting right much of the mess left behind by the last administration. This being especially true with regards to the lyric and the service level agreement made between the council and the resource centre. The management committee that this council had the good sense to put in place can be proud of what it has achieved in the short time it's been in existence. The bar has had and is going through major changes, as is the lighting and sound systems, and new methods of working have been introduced. They are also organising events where the council will receive all the coffee. The lyric will soon be the vibrant hub of the town it should be. But the greatest achievement to date that this council has achieved was to take the brave step to purchase the offices next door. This will transform how this council will work. It will give us for the first time a presence on the high street. The public will have, again for the first time, a real connection to this council and its councillors. This is a major leap forward, not only for this council, but for the people of Dinnington, who we represent. I want to thank you for having the foresight to do what the previous administration failed to do. I'd also like to thank the clerk, the deputy clerk, and our accountant for all the hard work they put in to help us achieve this. Last month, 2,000 crocus bulbs were planted around Dinnington by councillors, near to council house areas. 3 of our councils acquired the bulbs at no cost to the council. Further evidence that this council is willing to get their hands dirty. Councillors have also been involved in starting to clean up Coronation Park. I know this council is determined to move forward to help improve the lives of people of Dinnington. To this end, we have begun the process of putting together a neighbourhood plan. Again, something that the last administration shied away from. We've already begun the formal process. The clerk and I had a meeting with RMBC Director of Planning and one of the senior planners on Thursday, 1st of October, in order to inform them that we're going ahead and putting together a neighbourhood plan. They told us we are trailblazers because we're the first council in Rotherham to do this, another first for Dinnington. By going ahead with this plan, it will give us more say in what happens in Dinnington. We need as many councillors, organisations and members of the public to get involved in formulating the plan, so we get the best outcome for the town, and also we find out what the people feel should happen, not just this council. This is an exciting thing to be involved in, and I hope you will all embrace it. On Friday the 25th of September we held another first, a Macmillan Coffee Morning, which several of our councillors attended, in order to be fleeced by our colleagues who organised it. It was a great success and raised £320 for a very worthwhile charity. These are the kind of things this council is willing to get involved in, and I know there will be many more such things in the future. We do need to use the lyric more during the day, so if any councillor or member of the public have any ideas on how we can achieve this, please let us know. We will be happy to hear from you. I know this is the council who want to get involved and help to improve our community. I'm proud of you, and you should be proud of yourselves on what we've achieved up to now. I want to thank you for electing me chairman of what I know is an independent and progressive council. We've only just started, so who knows what we can achieve over the next 4.5 years. So let's keep going, let's keep getting involved, and let's keep going. Thanks. Is there any questions on that?
How much did you get paid to say it?
I'm glad it'll be expensive. Now we have next part of the agenda is lost my agenda, did it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think David talked at the first part, but I don't know if anybody knows, but it's myself, Councillor Clark, Councillor Hart, Councillor Morton, Councillor Smith, which are all in the committee. And we've all worked pretty hard on that last few weeks. I know Jean and Pat have done well. I can't thank you enough for the bar. Paperwork, figures we've done, you'll know because it's kept up with the lights on. Yeah. You've worked exceptional. The bar is actually showing proper. And as today, I think you mentioned it earlier, the bar now has all been updated, which is going to make the room look a lot better. We've got new pumps, you know, new bar. As you know, the lyric's been had a new roof, new ceiling. So we've got new lights up at the moment which are on loan. There's quite a few things we want to do. I mean, Dave mentioned earlier about using lyric in day. Well, one of our ideas is let's get a projector and a screen and somewhere where they can just plug the laptop in and do conferences or presentations, which we're surrounded by firms on industrial listening. We need to be promoting living that this can be used, especially in day. We've got another idea that we're going to have a fancy dress 80s evening for New Year's Eve. Now this will be a £10 ticket. I'll actually be doing the disco, which is free of charge, so every bit of profit goes back into the living to this council. All us on committee will be there helping in one way or whichever way we can. It's going to be bring your own food, so there's no catering to do or anything like that.
And you want me to hire a costume, aren't you?
Yes. So please look out on notice boards. There will be posters going up and tickets will be going on sale for that. I think we're going off now with Pat. What is it? There's a table at 10, but if you book a table at 10, you'll only pay for 9. You'll get the 10 for free. And it's a way of just showing off the hard work what we've done and not have a nice friendly evening when you can enjoy yourself. And again, it's showing the theatre off the way it should be. And this is what we're aiming for. There's a lot of things we do need. I've spent hours on the phone over the last few weeks trying to confirm which bookings definitely in and which bookings isn't. Some have been cancelled. A good example, in August we had Christmas on a Sunday. Up until Friday, I tried to